Hi everyone, this is Dave. I posted a couple of weeks ago a video called Low Save at Hilaire and got quite a few hits on it, and I thought I'd do a little voiceover, maybe doing a better explanation of what happened. So this was an interesting day. We'd flown towards the Grenoble and not doing that well down there. I remember just scratching it out for a while and getting above the cliff a few times, but not really being able to make anything of it. And then deciding to take the altitude I had and head back to the landing. And so this is me coming back towards the landing zone in front of the main launches, and just getting really low and thinking the flight was over. And so here I'm just kind of making a pass above the tree line, at least above where the trees hit the cliff, just trying to hold as much of the lift as I can, getting a nice view of the cliffs because they're amazingly beautiful. There's a waterfall I think I'll make a pass through, just a really nice place to be. And trying to stay as high as I can until I get close enough to go land. And I'm not really expecting to get back in the game at this point. It was a struggle the whole way around, and there's really no reason to believe it will get better. But there's one spot that I've done pretty well at before to save, and I was hoping that that would pay off again. So right now I'm coming out in front of the launchers, but pretty far below them. But you can see there's some sun patches on the ground, and I kind of knew that it was a cloudy day, and I knew that if I could just be patient and survive long enough, that I may have a chance to get some lift offs the parts the sun were hitting if they hit the right spots. And so, still moving forward. I don't think I'm close yet, but you can see on the right there's a splotch of sunlight hitting the trees. And my hope is that it hits this one spot that I've found fairly reliable lift in the past. And I'm pretty close to the trees here, so they drop off pretty quickly, so if I just cut to the right, I'll have lots of altitude away from the trees, but right now I'm just trying to stay as high as I can and kind of as tucking in as close as I can to what terrain I have, so that when I do make a break to the right, I'll have some area to work with. This is not a spot that tends to give climbs out in the valley, so at other sites you may just push away and get some altitude and get over that town and try to find lift, but it really wasn't the type of place that would work that often. So the next thing that I'm going to see is this gully, and on the other side of the gully there's some rock faces, and occasionally I get lift. So I'm going to make a play for it, but what I'm really counting on is to buy time until this little area to the right of where I am right now has a chance to heat up. So I'm checking it out now. We'll see it better later on, so I'm not going to point it out too much now. But I made a quick 180. Maybe I saw some sunlight here and I was hoping something would pay off, or I saw a bird. I'm not exactly sure what I may have seen. But I turned from my original plan, and down there to the left of me on the way down the hill is this little ruin of some kind of structure. It's got a flag on it. And I'm not sure if it's coming from there or if it's just kind of hitting the sky there and it's actually heating up below that. But I've had a couple times that building has got me back in the game. And right now I'm pretty low. I think the lowest I am in this save area is maybe 150 to 200 meters above the landing. Actually, maybe not even 200 meters, but pretty low. Down to the right, there's also a horse farm that some people have told me may pay off too. So there's a mix of different things that could be triggering this. But for me, they always seem to find their way to that ruin and kick off that. So I think it's either that ruin, or it's just that because it's a little bit of a hill, it's concentrating all of the lift. So I'm still in sync. I haven't given up yet. I'm still working the high ground, but I know where I'm going to go if I need it. So now I've crossed the gully. There's some rocks there. They're kind of hidden away in the trees. So I'm hoping the combination of hot rocks and then trees to hold the air, and these light splotches where the sun is hitting it, I'm hoping that all of that may help. But it's really not giving me much to work with. There's also a gully that's kind of a bowl. So conceivably the bowl would kick some things off that you could work back into, but it's kind of committing back there, and depending on the wind direction, I don't feel great being tucked in there. So I think at this point I've kind of given up, and I'm going to pass what I expect to be the lift areas on my way to the landing, and I'm expecting to have to land at this point. So I'm making sure I have a glide to the landing. So you can kind of see I'm checking off to the left there for that. And now I'm just going to pass over some things that I'm hopeful would produce. Getting lower the whole time. There's the horse farm. Don't really feel anything coming off it, so starting to doubt whether that's actually the trigger. Also making sure I keep within range of the landing zone. So I think my plan now is to just fly directly over it and use whatever bump it gives me to make sure I get there. And now I'm starting to feel some little beeps, and they're not enough to really crank into a turn, but they're enough that I want to spend more time here. So I'm starting to turn into a really, it's kind of a shallow circle just to stay in the area. And probably turning in neutral lift or zero lift, which is still air going up, so it's good to be there and stay in it. But I'm just kind of exploring where the boundaries are of whatever lift I'm in. Seeing if it's worth trying to use that as a save, or if it's just gonna drop out of it and end up landing anyway. So I've got the landing field to my left within a glide, so I'm not too worried about that, and I'm in lift, so this is worth staying in. And if I stay in it and it gets stronger, then I'm back in the game. If I stay in it and it just peters out, then I've got the landing. Very easy. So I'm kind of mapping it out and seeing if I can figure out where the edges are. And my intuition is that if I can let this kind of drift me over, or at least give me altitude to get over that structure, the ruins, then that'll actually pay off even more. This one, I'm not hearing the beeps, so either I lost my mapping or it's petered out. It sounds like it's still going though. So now, it's getting stronger where I am now, and I'm further to the south of where I started, which is towards the little hilltop of the ruins. So it's actually doing exactly what I want, which is drifting me over to a little bit of a more reliable source that's worked for me several times before. There's a lot down there that could be helping. The buildings could be generating heat, the horse farm, a lot of things happening there, but usually not enough to make a climb when you're over the town. But maybe the combination of all this and the terrain gives me something. The challenge here is not to fall out of it, because it's very light, it's not very wide, and so it wouldn't take much to fall out of it, and then the flight's over. But it feels like I've mostly in it. It's a difficult decision as to how aggressive to make the turns, because the more aggressive the turn is, the more you can, so the easier it is to stay inside the thermal, but you also have a less efficient lift, so you trade space for lift. So in a strong lift, you don't care about the lift, so you'll just tighten it up and save space, but in weak lift, you can't always make that compromise. So I don't know if I've gone up that much at this point, but what I have done is stay at this altitude and have some mapping of where the thermal is, and also get closer to that little ruins. Every time I feel it stronger from that direction, I'm going to extend my turn towards it. And now I just feel it getting stronger and stronger as I get over there. So I'm just extending the turn. So I think this is going to be a full turn here, and then probably extending it on the other side to try to put myself right above that thing. And you can hear it getting stronger now too. So I think at this point I'm climbing again. Alright, so you can see me heading over the ruins, and almost on top of them now. Just a little bit ahead of me, and then I'll turn so that I'm on top of them. But I'm still not really in a climb yet, I wouldn't say. I'm just surviving. Up a little bit, down a little bit. But enough of a climb that I feel confident that it'll work. And now you can hear it starting to strengthen up. So it feels like now I found my spot. And I just need to get a good mapping of it and get my turn optimized so that I can stay in it and let it bring me back up. But I'm pretty low. I'm definitely closer to landing than the top, and this is a day where getting low pretty much seemed to mean your flight was over. Every time I got low before on this day, I was just struggling to even stay on the cliff. So now my hope is that the thing's going to build, because it was hopefully at the beginning of a cycle. And as it builds, I can stay in it, and I think also as I get higher, it'll get stronger, it'll get wider, it'll get more consistent. So if I can just let it carry me up to where it performs a little bit better, I should be good, and I think we'll actually see that happen. Now it feels stronger. And the stronger it gets, the more confident I can be to crank into a tighter turn. So right now, it's actually one of the strongest climbs I'd had on this day, which was very surprising this low down. So I'll keep it running a bit more, but essentially now I'm back in the game, and you'll see that it doesn't even take that long to be back at launch height. So this one took a while to find. It took a while to optimize my position over it, and then I just had to get in it and hold on to it. I think a more experienced pilot would have done both of those more easily. They would have found it probably more easily and mapped it more easily, and then had a better, more optimal climb. If you look down there, you can see a couple of other gliders heading to where I found this climb, because they also probably want to get back in the game. So they saw me do it. Now they have that advantage of being able to follow where I went. And I can't remember if others got up or not. There's that green one directly below me. But I can't remember if they were actually able to make the most of it. And you can see that after just a minute or two, I'm already almost to, probably about 75% of the way back up to launch. And still climbing strongly. And getting stronger. The higher up we go, the more organized the thermals are. Other thermals may have joined in. They may have pulled together and made one bigger, wider, easier thermal. So definitely it's weakening a little bit, or more likely than that, I've lost the best part of it. But at this point, I have enough of it that I've done what I needed to get back up to cliff height. And at some point here, I break off and just go back to the cliff, but I'll let it run a little bit longer. And since it's going to stop pretty abruptly, just wanted to tell everyone thanks for watching. And also thanks for all the people that watched the original of this video, because I think it was one of the most viewed of my paragliding videos somehow. So I'll be doing more of these. it's difficult to get a full flight on GoPro because the batteries never seem to last long enough. But I'm starting to figure out a solution to that, so I should hopefully have more flights that I can just put up in their entirety. Probably not the most interesting thing for everyone to watch, but if you want to see kind of self-analysis, I'll try to get some of these up. But for this one, it's winding down. I know the video is going to end in just a few seconds. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you see anything that I should have done differently. Thanks. Bye.